Hey, folks, and welcome back. So we talked a little bit of boxing. We talked some NBA basketball. Now let's get to what we really came here for. What everybody at this panel came here for. Let's talk some pigskin.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's start with the amateurs. College, NCAA football.
Okay.
All right. Let's go with the hot topic, which is, of course, the college football playoff system. Right now, I'll go from 4 to 1. They got the Mississippi State Bulldogs at 4. We've got the Florida State Seminoles at 3. Oregon Ducks at 2. And the Tide is rolling at 1.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's on
Can't
now.
go against Nick
It's,
Saban, man.
it's on
Can't
now.
go against Nick Saban.
And with only a couple of games, 2 games left in the season, 5 and 6 is big. Number 5 is Texas Christian, and number 6 is that school in Ohio. I know I can't say it.
Yeah.
I know I can't say it.
I love the Ohio hate. I love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Lemont, talk to me about the top 4. What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, with Alabama at number 1, I mean, Nick Saban always find a way to get back in the top spot. But to me, I don't feel like they deserve to be at the top spot. I really believe Florida State is the number 1 team in the top 4. Rightfully so. Jameis Winston is doing an outstanding job. I think for all the stuff he's dealing with off the field, for him to be successful on the field speaks volumes. It shows that he's mentally tough and he's mentally prepared for each and every game. And let's be honest. For them to always come back after getting out to a slow start and struggling offensively, the game last week was phenomenal. I mean, for them to be against Miami, in Miami. Rivalry game, down. I mean, everything was thrown at them offensively, defensively from Miami. For them to counter that and come back and win speaks volumes. So if you're going to just narrow down the top 4, I think Florida State should be number 1.
Just out of respect.
Just out of respect. I mean, they're the champions. They should be number 1. Alabama's deserve to be in the top 4. They can be in the 3 or the 4 spot. But number 1, I got to give it to Florida State.
Nah, I'm gonna tell you this. One thing I gotta disagree with you on. I can't cut for Jameis Winston as far as all the things he's dealing with off the field, because the things that he's dealing with off the field is his own fault.
Yeah.
Now, the kid who is having problems at home, his mother's got cancer, his little brother got shot, this happened, that happened. That I can cut for.
Yeah.
But when you bring problems on yourself, I can't cut for you with that.
Well, the thing is, I don't agree with some of the things that he's done. I mean, i.e. the supermarket situation, the ongoing investigation with the young lady, which he thought he put behind him, but now he's still dealing with it. But I'm just looking from a standpoint, as a former athlete, and we all play sports here.
Right.
It's all about the mental capacity.
It is.
It's like, okay, is he mentally tough to battle through what he's doing, what he's dealing with personally, and still be successful in the field? Because last year he caught everybody by surprise.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere.
He came out of nowhere. He was like, who is this kid? He's phenomenal. He wins the Heisman. Fast forward to this season. Okay, now you're bringing some adversity. You're bringing some turmoil with Jimbo Fisher.
You said you had jumbo crab legs. It's a Freudian slip. That's what you wanted to say.
And his head coach Jimbo Fisher, him being suspended for the first half, and he's coming out. I mean, just all. Can he still be focused? Can he still be successful and still lead this team undefeated? And right now, and you add in the last part, them coming back every week. The last 2 weeks, they've been successful. So you got to say, this kid is tough.
That's the part that gets me, Jolivet. The fact that they have to keep coming back.
Right.
I mean, you're not playing in the SEC. You're not playing, and I'm not a SEC's fanboy by no means. Trust me. Trust me. I understand, but I still ain't over what Bama did to my Wolverines a couple years ago.
So you still saw
Yeah, Uncle Paul, I know you're watching. I have to throw that in there for you. My Uncle Paul's the biggest Bama fan you'll ever meet. I know he's watching.
Yeah, he destroyed you. That was hilarious.
Yeah, he did. He did. But I don't think Florida State should be. I think that, again, go back to boxing. I think that you should have to knock the champ out. But at the same time, they have struggled against inferior competition all season.
Right.
And I can't say that they're better. Even as undefeated, they're not better than Alabama, who lost to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss was like number 5 at the time. So what do you think about? What do you think about it?
Well,
Bama being number 1.
Bama number 1, respectfully so, because Nick Saban and that team, Kirby Smart and that defense, the way they program those players, I mean, they all have Nick Saban's mindset, and they have one agenda: win the doggone game.
Right.
Now, Florida State, you can't win a national championship playing 30 minutes of football. They're just out.
Yeah.
Because when you play 30 minutes of football every single week, week in and week out, you're asking to get beat by somebody, and I don't care who it is because Louisville almost beat their behinds in Louisville. Okay, now
It's not like Louisville is.
it's not like this
poor,
the teams, but also they're playing in the ACC, which is not a heavy loaded conference
At all.
But when you have to think about Bama has to play LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn, Texas A&M. All those games, it's the national championship type game every single week for these guys.
Every team in
So-
the SEC West was ranked in the top 15 at some point this season.
Yes, at some point this season, they were all ranked in the top 15. And so that gives you the strength of that conference. Now, with Oregon being number 2, I don't agree with it because, this whole, spread them out, run
They can't
fast
stop nobody.
defense, they can't stop anybody because we've already seen what happens to them when they get into national championship games. People wait more than they do, and then they end up laying on them heavy towards the end. They get tired and gassed. Right. So Mississippi State being number 4, rightfully so, they put up a fight against Alabama, and they held on. They came back and surged kind of late,
down big.
but they were in the fight for the game. So with the top 4, I don't disagree with it. But Florida State, if this was the BCS system, we would still be complaining about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to find something to complain about
something
it.
to
always-
complain about.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
We're going to find something to complain
We're
about.
gonna until they get a playoff system.
Yeah,
You know?
well,
a legitimate.
on the field playoff system because and I'll leave this to you, Rich. I'm not a committee guy because committee leaves room for bias. It leaves room for somebody to slide a couple dollars under the table. Let's keep it real. That's what the NCAA football is about. I'm all about seed them and play. Not, well, I think this team is better than this team. I think this team. No, seed them and play. What do you think about that?
I agree. In fact, I think that the NCAA had an opportunity to take the conferences. You can break those conferences down geographically to where you have enough balance and put them in the tiers. We know that Texas Christian doesn't belong with the big boys. I don't care what anybody say. Andy Dalton, if you and your mom are listening, you do not belong in the power conference. You do not belong in the top 5. I'm sorry. You're gonna get beat by University of Texas this weekend. I'm calling that now. Okay, but you can put the schools in the tiers based upon the size of the school, their ability to recruit, etc. TV market, etc. And so you have a power conference, power tier 1, power tier 2, 3, 4, etc. Geographically spread them out across the country to where you have one conference champion and the wild card team from each of those segments. Bring them together in a legitimate playoff bracket, like you were saying, Lamar. Then we have a national champion at each level. That's how you set up a playoff system. But the powers that be in the, as I call it, the National Cash Allocation Alliance, aren't going to do that because they don't have control over who's going to be at the very end in the championship game that way. You don't want that wild team from Boise State or something like that to get hot in the playoffs and beat one of your big money makers.
Right.
So I think that's why they're keeping the structure somewhat as it is. To be honest, it's nothing but a humanized version of the BCS is what we have right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a whole
They're still
lot.
talking about strength of schedule.
Right.
They're still talking about on the road versus
It's the same
at
metrics.
home.
Except
Same
people
metrics,
are
except
doing
it's
it.
not a computer anymore.
Right, exactly.
Well, Division I AA figured it out. I mean, their playoff system is
Exactly.
And
A
Division
bracket
two.
system.
yeah,
Exactly.
it
Right.
works out. So why we can't do it on the big board level? But it makes sense. It's all about dollars and cents. And if you're not making any dollars and it doesn't make any sense to
Exactly.
the people in charge. So that's the most important part.
Yeah, I mean, and we know that it's about money with the bowl games because remember, we all about the same age on this panel. Well, most of us.
Man, why you have to do that?
We all about the same age, so we remember when there were maybe about 15 bowls.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to be
good.
you had to be good to make a bowl game.
Really good.
Remember the Blockbuster Bowl?
That's when it started. That was down here. When they started to block. I mean, all you got to do is win 6 games, and you're going to somebody's bowl. I mean, they might as well have the Houston Media Source Bowl and play it, back here in this field back here. It's getting ridiculous with that. Now, Bama this week, there's no excuse. They got last 2 games. They got Western Carolina this week.
Oh my goodness.
Nothing to talk about there.
No.
Then they got the Iron Bowl.
Right.
They got the Iron Bowl against Auburn, and this, of course, is at Bama. So I don't see any problems there. But at the same time, it's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
And Auburn may come to play, and they could knock them off. The Ducks, they host Colorado. Nothing to talk about there.
Nope.
And they go to Oregon State.
Interesting. Very
That's
interesting.
a trap game.
It
That's
sure
the
is.
definition of a trap game.
It's a rivalry game.
Yeah. I mean,
Anytime you put rivalry in.
Florida State, I think, has got the easiest road to hoe, and that's they host Boston College, and they host Florida. And we know Florida's in a state of disarray right now. Mississippi State, they host Vandy. Nothing to talk about there. But then they go to Ole Miss.
Yeah. Ooh, buddy.
That's not even a trap game.
I can see 2 changes.
That's a dog fight.
Exactly. Well, number 5, TCU goes to the Longhorns, and then I can see that happening.
TCU.
I can see that happening. And then Iowa State.
Bye-bye.
That team in Ohio. They host.
I thought you was gonna slip up that time.
Never. I've been doing this a long time. I can never slip up on that one. They host Indiana. Nothing to talk about there. And then they host the Michigan Wolverines. Again,
something to talk about there.
Again, rivalry game. Never know. Last year we took them to the brink.
That's true.
They beat us by 1 point last year.
That's true.
So again, rivalry games, you never know. So let's just go down the line. Give me your national championship game and the winner.
Whew, that's a good one. That's a good one. Well, for some reason, I think a big Pac-12 team will be in it, and if it's so, it has to be Oregon. I think they're pretty much a strong team out the West. But again, to beat the champ, you got to knock out the champ. And their road to be successful and get back to the national championship is kind of laid out for them. I like Florida State. Again, so much was going through for them this season, and for Jumbo Fisher had to make adjustments, and Jameis Winston's starting to see how it plays. I got Florida State and Oregon. Bama, they got that SEC championship game they need to get over too.
Okay. Well, we'll finish this segment up when we come back. We got to go pay some bills. We'll be right back.